Welcome back to the Two Marks and a Spark Wrestling YouTube show. This is the season one finale, and what a season finale it's gonna fucking be. It's gonna be a fucking mess, is what it is. I'm here as always. I'm your host, Ben Shrewsbury. I've been here every single fucking week since the start of this show. Don't remind me, it hurts me too. Uh, Russ is here. Hi, Russ.
Hey,
And then who the fuck is this third idiot?
Who the fuck are you? You
Why are you on my show?
you invited me on, you fucking mark.
Shut up. Anyway, that's Devlin. If you guys listen to the audio feed this week, I did a audio extra. That's a new thing we're doing over on the audio feed. Russ will be on there occasionally. I'm on there. Devlin was there this week. So we did an audio extra doing some WrestleMania history stuff. Devlin's back. We do have a Lock 22 announcement coming up later in the show, but I'm going to save that for the end because we have a lot to fucking get into, guys. By the way, before we do this, is everybody having a good day? Like, because we're not going to talk about how we feel for the rest of this. Is everybody feeling okay?
yes.
So, I'm tired. I don't know about you guys. Like, this show, holy shit. So, did anybody here bother with the pre-show?
Nope.
No. I literally caught the last 5 minutes of it when I walked in the door from work. So I caught
Russ,
I caught all the good stuff.
Russ, did you bother?
Nope. Nope. I saw a few minutes of it. I was just kind of getting organized while it was on. So I turned it on about 6:30. But
I did the same.
It was just the same promos and video packages.
So we got America the Beautiful from some woman who I've never heard of by the name of Becky G.
Yep.
I've never heard of her, and I'll probably never hear from her again. She did a pretty good job, though. I mean, not the worst America the Beautiful I've ever heard. We get a WrestleMania cold open, and they actually acknowledged it as a cold open with Kevin Hart. This was not as cool as the one they did for Tampa, but it was pretty cool. One thing I don't like about when they do these manias on the West Coast is the fact that it's daylight out when these shows start. I'll never not be sick of that. How do you guys feel about these daylight start times?
Oh, it's just a little unusual, a little different.
I felt like I was watching like a 3 o'clock football game.
Well, it's always a little different, with an outside.
They were
Yep.
inside. Just the roof is a giant glass window.
Okay, it looks like an open air.
It does. It really
Yes.
does. We got the worst opening segment I've seen in a long time with Miz and Snoop in the ring. By the way, did they announce Snoop Dogg pre-hand or did they just kind of have him?
I hadn't heard anything.
Devlin, did you see anything on Twitter?
No, that was a surprise to me.
Snoop Dogg was just there. Uh, we find out, or Corey mentions that this is Cole's 22nd WrestleMania. I feel old.
Yeah.
That hurt a lot. Then we finally get to the first match after about 15 minutes of sticking our thumbs in our asses.
You're not even old enough to remember, like I am, when Cole was just a backstage commentator back in the Attitude Era.
Yep.
The Rock, he was probably the first person, him and Kevin Kelly, he was probably the first person to get the Rock's t-shirt put over his head while holding a microphone.
We got this I don't want to call this match bad because I don't think it was. Austin Theory versus John Cena. I didn't dislike this match. I hated the finish. I don't know what they were doing here.
John Cena looked like Sheamus in terms of like just being pale. Like he looked absolutely, he in my opinion, he looked a step lower. You could tell that he had some ring rust to him, at least in my opinion. I just I didn't think he looked as good as he normally does. I'm not saying he looks bad, but I just didn't think he looked as sharp and as crisp as he normally does.
Russ.
It made sense for me though to have him put Austin Theory over.
But why didn't they do it clean? If they were going to do this,
Well, because they wanted to make Cena still look good, for some reason. But whatever they do with Austin Theory now, they better do something quick, to try to get him over, because otherwise it's just wasted.
the crowd still doesn't care. Like, let's be abundantly clear here. The crowd does not care.
Like having a ref bump in your first match of the night is not a good way to set the tone for the night. Thank God they rebounded for the rest of the night. But when I was watching that and I saw that, I was like, are you kidding me? Like the first match of the night's going to have a screwy finish.
It was so. All I wanted from this was a clean finish. I didn't really care who won because I kind of figured whoever won is probably dropping the title on Monday. But like, this was just stupid. Anyway, speaking of stupid, Theory wins, and then Titus O'Neil joins commentary, and I muted this fucking thing so quick the second I saw Titus. Because Titus is terrible on commentary. I love Titus O'Neil, but he is terrible on commentary. And then we got a match I thought was going to suck that didn't suck. The four-way tag match with the Profits, Braun and Ricochet that need to break up. I
didn't expect anything at all from this, and I was surprised. It was much better than I thought it would be.
This didn't suck. They went about 10 minutes. And
Ben, I think you and I called it. There was no other way this match was going to end other than with the Profits winning.
I mean, me and Russ have been saying that for a month.
Like there
most over.
There was no other match that made. There was no other ending that made sense in my mind other than the Profits winning. But
maybe the Viking Raiders. Maybe.
To me, this match should have been a pre-show match.
They don't do pre-show matches anymore, though, because people don't watch the pre-show. Which begs the question, why do they do the pre-show at all?
I always think it's kind of weird, though, when you've got 8 wrestlers in the match and 1 referee to keep track of everybody. No, it's going to be a mess.
Yeah.
I would be remiss if we didn't mention that they did commercials on this show, but significantly less than they've been doing.
Yeah, less than we had on the Royal Rumble.
It certainly seems like, and they mentioned it on commentary, that people that have the Peacock Premium Plus, which is like the ad-free version of Peacock, it seems like they're getting significantly less ads now. So, and that includes me, and I think pretty much anybody that watched this show.
I wish I was getting less Otis and Chad Gable commercials, specifically for Snickers.
Or like
times.
Or the Intuit TurboTax replays.
Although I will say TurboTax is a great job, does a great job doing taxes. I use them every year. They're fantastic, but they have no place on a WrestleMania show.
I felt like I was watching an NFL game with the amount of ad placement.
Yeah.
I felt like I was watching the NFC Championship game. Anyway. And I say the NFC Championship game specifically because I don't know if you guys remember that from this year, but there was like way more ad placement on that game than I've ever seen. Anyway, speaking of ad placement,
there were some good spots in this match, though. I like the term. I think it was Adam Cole when they were all in the corner. He said it looks like human Jenga.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Profits get the win as they needed to. I mean, these guys are probably going to split up in a week or two, but like for now,
you and I talked about it on the audio. Do you think in the next 2 weeks or maybe before the next PLE, you think this is the year that Montez Ford finally gets his main event push? Like for me, that's the first feud I want to see Cody have if he wins tomorrow night. It's him and Montez Ford. Like that's the feud that I would like to see first.
If they're gonna do it, they got to do it quick. because if they're going to do that, they got to split the profits and they got to do it now. And I thought they might do it on this show, but that would have been the way that the profits could have lost here if they were going to split them.
Right.
So that almost tells you that they're not splitting up. But we do go to the next match, which is Seth Rollins versus Logan Paul. This match was fucking amazing. And I said it would be. And I hate Logan Paul. And I hate his little jabroni friend KSI. But my God, if this match wasn't great. I don't.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Russ.
I was going to say, the entrances, are always too long, but him coming in on a zip line, that seemed like that was taking forever.
I think he got stuck
Logan
at one
Paul.
point.
And then what an outfit for Seth Rollins. I wrote he doesn't roll out the red carpet, he wore it. I mean, that thing was incredible.
When I say I think Logan Paul got stuck on that zip line, I mean when they first took him up and he didn't move for a minute, I don't think that was the plan. I think he was stuck.
Yeah.
He was trying to channel his inner Shawn Michaels
with
that entrance.
Which there's like none of in him.
Yeah. And you and I talked about it. We both thought this match was gonna be good. But we also talked about on the audio version, which you can also find on the Lock 22 network, Cheap Pop, that if Logan...
Get yourself over, brother.
That if Logan Paul lost, we both kind of agreed that his contract probably didn't re-up or renew. So I think this is probably the last match he's had in WWE, at least for a while.
I was watching this with a friend and I told him I think that Logan will be back before Mania next year. But I think for now, and he might even be back for SummerSlam. You know what I mean? But KSI took a hell of a bump here. I think
he had so much padding though. Like that Crown bottle outfit must have given him so much padding. That was ridiculous, man. Get out of here with that garbage.
That was the stupidest. I thought it was Jake Paul. I thought his brother was going to be in there. Because KSI insisted he wanted nothing to do with WWE and got a ton of heat for it and then showed up anyway.
Just get out of here with that. Give me a jackass match any day of the week over that garbage. Get out of here.
Russ, how did you feel about that jackass match from last year? I know, total sidetrack. Would you prefer this or another?
Well, this wasn't much better. This wasn't much better. I'll say that, But, Logan Paul, he can work. I don't like the guy. I don't like him. I don't know him, but from what I do know of him, I don't think he's a very nice person.
No, he's a douchebag.
I don't give a damn if he can wrestle good or not. I'd just soon not see him.
I feel the same way about Riddle.
Yeah, no, and I agree. I mean, I hate to say it, like I agree with Russ. I mean, he's not the greatest person. Like as a human being, I think he's kind of a D-bag, but it's also hard to discount his first year in wrestling. Like you look at the year that he started at Mania last year against The Miz, and then he had a feud with Roman, and now he caps it off with Seth at Mania. Like, love him or hate him, I mean, he's talented inside the ropes, and he's picked it up really quick, and that's not something that's easy to do. So, as much as I dislike the guy, he's a hell of an athlete.
And if he wanted to wrestle, but he didn't want to wrestle for WWE anymore, any company would probably take him. I mean,
oh, absolutely.
That's the thing. And, we can say whatever we want about the guy, but like, if he walked into Tony Khan's office tomorrow and said he wanted to wrestle for AEW, I don't think Tony would say no to that.
Oh, Tony Khan will hire just about anybody.
That's true. I mean, for longtime followers of the show, it is a running joke, not just with Russ, but with me and Devlin and with me and Bryce. Tony Khan will hire just about everybody. I'm pretty sure
he'll hire people and not even let them have them wrestle, just pay them.
I'm pretty sure Devlin, I'm pretty sure if me and you asked Tony Khan for a job, that he would find us something to do.
Are you kidding me? We'd be the world tag team champions. He wouldn't just find something for us to do. We'd be the world tag team champions.
And you know what? We do a better job than the Guns.
Mhm. I mean, you're not wrong.
I have to get my weekly jab in on the Guns. It's contractually obligated. Then we get the women's 6-man tag with probably the two best entrances of the night. Damage Control come out, and Bayley disappointingly does not have Cole shaved into the side of her head, but definitely put extensions in.
And see, I thought Seth Rollins actually had the best entrance of the night. When you can, because you and I were talking on the audio version of like whose entrance theme it has the potential to be played live, and Seth Rollins, man, that crowd was behind him, and hearing that played live is just awesome.
Well, the Damage Control come out, and then they do this like film noir entrance for Lita, Becky, and Trish. This was great. And what I really liked about this is Lita came out in her original attire. Trish came out in her attire from the last time they were in LA for Mania. And then Becky came out in her NXT attire, which I popped really hard for. And this was great. The match itself was not. The match itself was a little rough.
You and I talked about it on the audio version. I still think Trish is going to turn on Becky, and I think since it didn't happen tonight, I'm pretty sure that it's going to happen tomorrow night on Raw. Like there's going to be some kind of segment with them, and I'm pretty sure Trish is going to turn heel and set up a feud with Becky. My guess is probably for SummerSlam. That's what makes the most sense.
I think her and Lita have to drop the titles first. I mean, before you do any of that, her and Lita have to drop the belts, and then that could happen legitimately as soon as tomorrow night or Monday even. But
yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Damage Control have those belts.
But they lost. I mean,
match, but no, I think they should. I think they should definitely drop the belts off of them. And yeah, I hadn't thought.
They did protect Dakota and EO here though, because Bayley takes the manhandle slam off the top and Bayley eats the pin. So they do protect Dakota and EO, right. which was smart. I mean, they had to, because you can't have Becky and Lita pin Dakota and EO again. I mean, you couldn't do that. You're killing them.
Do you think that tomorrow night they're gonna have Ronda and Shayna come out, challenge them, and beat them, and take the titles off of them that way? Because that's the only way I see. Those are the only two people that make sense to me in the women's division.
Other than maybe Liv and Raquel, but like even then, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, like to me, Ronda and Shayna make the most sense as the two people that should be women's world tag team champions.
At this point, unfortunately, I think you're right. And I'm no Ronda fan. I'm far from it, really.
Most of the women's tag teams is that I really like one member of the team and dislike the other one.
Yeah.
It's hard to know who to cheer for.
Yep.
And that's kind of just the issue with like half the tag teams in WWE, period.
That's how it is. That's how it is with myself and Ricochet and Braun Strowman. Like, I can't stand Braun Strowman, but I love Ricochet. He's such a fantastic and underutilized talent, but I can't stand Braun Strowman. So,
and what's funny is they threw Braun with Ricochet because Braun can't get over worth a lick.
Right.
Bad Bunny comes out on commentary for the next match, which I still don't know why he was there. I don't think there was a point. He does get involved in this next match, but I don't know why. Rey versus Dominic Mysterio. I want to talk about one specific spot fairly early on in this match. At one point, Rey had Dom leaned over in the corner, took his belt off, and started spanking him. I popped so loud. I was laughing loudly as I was watching this. I also said, why is this not a fucking DQ?
because it didn't suit the needs of the storyline. So
this match probably should have been no DQ if we're gonna be honest, but
my favorite part of the match, well, not my favorite part, but one part that I wanted to highlight too was when Ray was coming out in the lowrider in the car. They broke into Eddie Guerrero's music, and real quickly, and I thought that was a really cool. I thought that was a really cool touch because he's kind of been the, I don't want to say the unsung or the unspoken person in this feud, but he's been somebody that they've sort of made the feud kind of based around
and
in
I
the
think
last few months, and I think that was a nice touch.
And I think the LWO thing they did on SmackDown, I don't think that was just a one-off angle. I think that might be a thing. And Ray's needed a faction for a while. Ray's at that point in his career where a faction's not going to hurt him.
I hadn't thought about them, but man, that's been how many years ago? WCW, the LWO.
That had to be what, 98, 99?
That was late 98, early 99. It was Eddie, Ray, Juventud Guerrera. I think it was Conan, or no, Conan was in the Wolfpack. It was Psychosis and La Parca.
Speaking of Conan, just for a second, how good was his induction speech last night? Did anybody see that?
No, I did not see the Hall of Fame. Haven't seen any of it.
Well, Conan's.
I try not to watch the Hall of Fame.
I don't blame you normally, but and most of it was a freaking snore. We did get a cameo from Mick Foley, however. He did Stacy Keibler's speech and was probably the best part of the show outside of Great Muta and Conan.
I'm surprised you're not going to comment on Vince McMahon's mustache.
I didn't see Vince.
No, they posted a photo on Twitter of Triple H, the Great Muta, and Vince, and the stash is real. The stash is a real thing.
Black hair. He's dyeing his hair black. And he's got that thin little mustache. You know, he looks like a old 1940s movie star or some shit, you know.
Or a 1980s porn star.
And it looks so unnatural too, but Vince has such an ego that you can't tell him that. Like, he's that guy that thinks it looks great and looks fantastic, and whatever anybody else tells him about it, they're wrong, but it looks like garbage. Like, it's not even gray, it's black.
It's ridiculous. So Ray and Dominic keep fighting. They go to the outside. As we predicted on the extra this week, Aaliyah did get involved.
She did.
In a very underwhelming capacity. This girl, like, I think at this point everybody knows, and I don't think I'm speaking out of school here, people know she's been training at the Performance Center for like 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Like, this girl's trained to work. We've never seen her work, but she's trained.
I kind of go back to what Russ just said, though. Like, I don't think the story really needed her involvement in it a whole lot. The story kind of told itself just with the history that they had and everything else. Like the Aaliyah stuff and the stuff with Dom's mom and Ray's wife was nice, but it didn't add a lot to the story. Like, the story had already been built up and was already there, in my opinion.
Well, at one point, and I still don't understand how this wasn't a DQ. At one point, Dominic gets slapped by his mother after splashing a drink on his sister. And that should have been a DQ as well. So at this point, we're at 2 disqualifications for Rey Mysterio.
Can you stop putting logic into wrestling matches, please?
Yeah.
I hate when you do that.
Oh, you want me to stop thinking about it?
It all falls apart.
Yeah, exactly. Quit using logic. This is WWE. You should know better.
I've been watching the product for 20 fucking years. I really should.
You know, the most logical thing in the world is if you get an opponent down on the ground and it's logical and it's supposed to be a real fight, well, kicks are legal. So he's down there, just kick the shit out of him until he's unconscious and then pin him. Match one.
Yep.
That would be a little boring, but it would make sense.
The Judgment Day ended up coming out, and it was at this point where I said, oh shit, because I thought Dominic was actually going to win this match. And they said on commentary, what happens if Dom wins? And I thought, I didn't think about that. What does happen if Dom wins? And then my friend that I was watching the show with said, more pain and agony for all of us. And I was like, you know what? You're probably right. Because Dominic would be insufferable. And we all know he would.
But here's the thing, like, as insufferable as he is, and like he's Miz 2011 insufferable right now, so I understand. But as insufferable as he is, other than the bloodline, he's also incredibly entertaining, and he is one of the reasons and one of the things that people do tune in to watch. Like, he's got nuclear level heat right now.
And it's not go away heat.
And his wrestling has really improved. He's come a long way.
Absolutely.
I think him being in the Judgment Day has been a great help to him.
And I've talked about it on this show. Finn Balor had a lot to do with that. So
absolutely.
So at one point, the Judgment Day get involved, and then here comes the LWO, Legado del Fantasma, whatever you want to call him, and Santos Escobar had one hell of a tope suicida onto Damian Priest that looked fucking incredible.
Tope suicida.
Shut up, Excalibur.
Come on, say it like Excalibur.
Shut up, Excalibur.
Do it.
No. I don't think my voice can go as high as his can. By the way, Excalibur, he has got my vote for worst active announcer in wrestling.
Oh, good. Then Titus O'Neil doesn't win that.
Titus O'Neil is not an active announcer.
He was tonight for one match, so technically.
Russ, help me here.
Yeah, Titus is not too good on commentary, but I agree. Excalibur,
no,
absolutely worthless.
Yeah, I would sit through a 3-hour show with Taz being on commentary by himself than I would before I'd listen to Excalibur.
People wonder why I mute AEW half the time. My answer is Excalibur. Like, I can't stand that guy.
That's why I was so happy when we went to Full Gear 2 years ago that we didn't have to listen to the commentary.
Oh, God.
Like, we just got to enjoy the show. We didn't have to listen to, like, the commentary.
AEW is so much better live because you don't have to listen to Excalibur.
And this is coming from somebody who started watching wrestling in 1997. I grew up listening to, Mike Tenay, Bobby the Brain Heenan, Tony Schiavone, Larry Zbyszko, Bobby Heenan, JR and the King. Like, so sure. JR and Tony Schiavone are on my Mount Rushmore of wrestling announcers.
Oh, yeah.
It's painful to listen to JR, honestly. Like, it's just painful.
He's gotten bad.
There's nobody I can think of as an announcer that is as entertaining as, like, Bobby the Brain Heenan.
Absolutely.
Nobody. I remember the chemistry that he had with Gorilla Monsoon.
Yeah.
And that was just, I know all of the announcers you mentioned, and when I was younger, I'm a little older than you guys. I mean, I remember guys like Bob Caudle and Lance Russell, and Gordon Soley, and there's nobody that I can think of that is as entertaining. That Heenan, he really added something.
Schiavone gets there occasionally.
It was really sharp,
Schiavone gets there occasionally for like a big match, but like not consistently.
Well, and Ben, I know you've never done it, but if you ever go back and watch Raw starting in 1993, like Russ was talking about, Heenan is so entertaining back then. Like episode 1, Vince kicks him out for something he said. So episode 2, he's literally on the street outside the studio, dressed as a woman, like trying to get in. And he's so entertaining. And then he had this whole thing with Doink the Clown, and it was he was great. Like, and Russ, I'm sure you probably remember Jesse Ventura as an announcer. He was damn good too.
Yes, he was. I've
always wondered why he doesn't have any
Monsoon.
Yeah, I always wondered why he's never been at a Mania or anything, like just for a match.
I don't think Vince or Triple H or whoever it is looks at him as an announcer. I don't think they look at him as a big wrestling name anymore. I mean, he obviously is, but I don't think they look at him. Like, if you notice, there's less and less legends appearing every year, and I don't think that's on accident.
So Ray gets the win here
Yes.
off the 619 after Bad Bunny took the chain from Dominic. Thank
Which
God Bad Bunny was there.
Which I thought was the right call. I mean, I would have loved to have seen Dom win, but I think this story, given where it started with Ray and Dom being a team, Dom turning on him, turning on Edge, joining Judgment Day, like Russ said, Judgment Day's been the best thing that's happened to Dom, and then Ray, coming back and doing a 180 or a 360, excuse me, at Mania to win. I think that was the right call. That being said, you and I talked about it on the extra. We didn't think this was the end of the feud, and I want to see
I
where they
still
go.
don't.
Right, and I want to see where it goes going forward. If this is
No,
the end
I'll tell you where it's going. It's Ray and Bad Bunny against Dominic and Damian, and that's it.
and that's entirely possible. But I want to see where it goes. If this, for some reason, is the end of the feud, like if they consider this the blow off, that's going to be really disappointing, because I understand wanting to give Ray the win, but I think they can squeeze more out of this feud without making it seem dull and tired and boring and something fans don't want.
Well, what's not dull, tired, or boring, or something fans don't want is Uncle Russ's Comic Talk right here on Lock 22.
Yes, got a new episode up this week. Want to remind you to check in every week. I've got comic books for sale, and I'm going to be showing you some treasures from my own collection that I like to show off and brag about, where you get into a little bit of comic book history. It's also right here on Lock 22 on YouTube.
I hope everybody liked my segue there. I'd been waiting for that.
All right.
I was waiting for somebody to say something negative so I could spin it into a positive. That was pretty good.
Sorry, I'm not more JDL like or Corey Graves. By the way, am I the only one that thinks that eventually it's going to be Corey Graves versus Pat McAfee in a match? Like, I keep thinking that's like they're going to eventually build towards that. Otherwise, Corey Graves is just being overly obnoxious on commentary for no reason.
That's Corey Graves for you. Anyway, they show a shot of George Kittle, and I knew they weren't showing that for no reason. We'll get to that later. Cole makes a point here, and I want to point this out because I wrote it down. And if I write something down, I try to say it because, well, I didn't put all this effort into this damn show for nothing.
Wait, you put effort into the show?
Fuck you. I'll fire you right now. So Cole makes the point that this is the first time all women in a WrestleMania match in terms of ring announcer, referee, and competitors. I looked it up. That was accurate.
I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that was a really, really neat moment. And I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, other than the main event, I thought this was the best match of the night. Like, I thought this match low key stole the show. Like, if you take the tag team match out of it, for me, this was by far 100% the best match of the night.
And the build sucked, by the way, for this match.
It did suck. I also think it's a contender for best WWE women's match ever with Bayley and Sasha at NXT Brooklyn. I think it's right neck and neck with that match. I mean, the story that those two had, and then the story that the ladies told tonight was just fantastic. I can't remember a women's match with so many near falls where I thought, okay, this is it. She's going to pin her.
I did hear something interesting during this match. At one point, because these two went over their time, by the way, like significantly, that they had originally planned out. So I think it was sanctioned going overtime, though, because it was so effing good. I think originally they only had like 15 minutes. They ended up going about 20. And at one point you can see, and I think this is where it happened, because at one point you saw Jessica Carr go over to both of them and say something. I think it was her saying something to the effect of, you have more time. Because that first Riptide looked like the end.
Mm-hmm.
Like that looked like that should have been the finish, and I think it probably was originally, but then they changed it. So I don't know what happened. And it's not unlike Triple H to change something on the fly like that. I mean, he did that in NXT all the
Well,
time.
this one just kept me right on the edge of my seat, though. Because there were several near falls where I thought it was definitely over. And yeah, this was an excellent match. Probably, I would agree, it was probably the best match of the show.
This is a match that reminds you how good Charlotte Flair is. Because people forget how damn fucking good she is. And when she shuts up and wrestles, I'm not sure there's 10 people better than her.
What this really reminded me of was how good women's wrestling in general can be. Like Mick Foley's been saying it for years. Women should get more time in the ring to wrestle. And
He's doing almost 25 minutes.
These two showed you why. Like when you give women, and like you said, I agree, the build sucked, but that didn't really matter because these two women are so good at their craft and what they do and storytelling. It didn't matter that the build sucked. If you put time into it, Tony Khan, if you give more than 5 minutes a week, Tony Khan, to your
We're talking to you, Tony Khan.
You can see what happens when you invest time in your women's division. You get quality matches that steal the show at the biggest event of the year.
You want to say Tony Khan again?
Tony Khan.
Russ, do you want to get a Tony Khan in? We're all doing it.
Hey, Tony, I agree with everything they said. You know, you just might want to. I mean, I'm glad that you have more matches in WWE. We get more in-ring action, but at the same time, you need to just slow the show down a little bit and let it breathe and let these wrestlers tell their story. Part of my problem getting engaged with a lot of the wrestlers on AEW is that for the casual wrestling fan, these people just show up out of nowhere. You have no idea who they are. And Tony Khan really caters to that core cult audience and doesn't give us information about who is the son of the Viking, where's he from, why are these guys even wrestling. They give us about 5 minutes instead of building things up for weeks at a time.
I mean,
the other problem they do is they put a majority of their women's matches on Dark and Elevation, which nobody watches. If they gave them 10 or 15 minutes a week on Dynamite or even on their Friday night show, they would still have a much better audience.
I still think Rampage should be an all-women show, and I've said that since the day it started.
Absolutely, and it wouldn't hurt. And and honestly, I'm surprised WWE hasn't done another all-women's pay-per-view. I mean,
they won't with Stephanie not there. I mean, Stephanie was the reason that happened. And people want to shit on Stephanie, but like she is the whole reason that pay-per-view happened.
I agree. I also think they did that though because they had Ronda Rousey at the time, and I think anytime Ronda's back, it goes from like a 5% to an 8% chance. But I would like to see it happen. I'm a proponent of women's wrestling. Like when Becky main evented WrestleMania a couple of years ago, I was so happy because just because they're women doesn't mean they can't wrestle well. Like the match we saw tonight, the Hell in a Cell match between Becky and Sasha from a couple of years ago.
That was an awful pay-per-view with just one hell of an opener.
Yeah, but that match itself was really, really good. Granted, the red Hell in a Cell is garbage, but still.
And it's dead.
The match itself was really good. But like Russ said, like if you give women the time each and every week, week in and week out, to tell a story, to be able to do character development, to be able to, connect with the audience, you saw the results tonight despite a lack of build.
And I want to point out, like, yes, Tony listens to his core audience, but he's also ignoring them to a greater extent. And me and Russ have talked about this. Devlin and I talked about it on the extra. Like, they're ignoring this Sky Blue thing, like, just blatantly. Me and Russ, how long have me and you been talking about the fact that Sky Blue is probably the most over person in the Outcast storyline?
for a while, ever since we first started seeing her.
Like,
months
she is
ago.
over as hell,
Yeah.
and they are just flat out ignoring it.
Yeah.
They are Tony's doing what Vince used to do, which is trying to beat him into a pulp to the point where they can't be over anymore.
She's the one that needs to go over on Jade Cargill.
I don't think it's going to happen. Sky Blue would be so much better off if Sky Blue's contract expired tomorrow and I was her agent. I'd be telling her to go to WWE. I'd say, you need to get the hell out of here. And if they change your name in WWE, so effing what? You're still going to be over. And they're not going to book you like an idiot.
All I want to say is that I've been really disappointed that Blue Pants did not get an AEW women's title run. I love Leva Bates. I loved her in NXT as Blue Pants. She was a fantastic trainer, and she did the whole librarian thing with Peter.
She's doing
Avalon,
a lot of PR stuff now. She's doing
she
like
does,
PR for them.
but I mean, Blue Pants is just a great gimmick, and she's a great worker.
Well, Sky Blue versus Blue Pants would be like an all-time classic, probably.
It would be Sky Blue Pants. It would be great.
Yeah.
That should be their tag team. They should be a tag team, and that's what they should call them.
But in all reality, like you guys were talking about, I think that if Sky Blue isn't the person to beat Jade Cargill, I think the only other person I would want to see do it, honestly, at this point, would be Athena.
But it's going to be Taya Valkyrie. Like,
I agree with you that it probably will be Taya Valkyrie, but I would like to see Athena be that person. 2 reasons. One, I would like to see her. I think she's incredibly, incredibly talented. She's come back from some personal issues, some mental health stuff, some really bad concussion issues,
and a really bad neck injury.
Yeah, and a really bad. And also, I like seeing women of color succeed in general, whether it be in wrestling, in business, in school, in sports, whatever it is. And I think the more women of color that can win a championship, the better.
Well, we've talked a whole lot about things that aren't WrestleMania. And that's mostly because me and Russ have this ability to just go on a random tangent about absolutely nothing for 20 minutes. And me and Devlin have that ability for an hour and a half.
Or 4 hours.
I mean, that show, that extra we did is just 4 hours of nothing. Anybody that listened to it knows that. So Rhea wins with the Riptide off the top. They gave her the biggest babyface WrestleMania win thing pyro ever.
Boy, she looked good.
And I texted Russ. Russ.
Yeah.
I said, damn, Rhea's a fucking megastar.
Yeah.
And you know what? She looked like it tonight. And if you think Triple H didn't see that and probably get a tear in his eye, boy, are you wrong.
Tonight was the official crowning of Rhea Ripley. Tonight is the night she had that rocket strapped to her, and she is heading towards the moon. Like,
they tried to do it 2 years ago, and it didn't work.
And I don't think it's any coincidence that the camera panned over and showed Charlotte applauding too. I think smiling and applauding. I don't think that was on accident.
No, but like even throughout the story they were telling in this match, this felt like Charlotte's last ride. And in a weird way, and they didn't say it, they didn't hint at it like on commentary or anything, but just the way the match flowed, this kind of felt like the end for Charlotte. I don't think it was, but it felt like it. I mean, and maybe she's just going away for a while, or
she just came back.
Bro, it's Charlotte. Like, she wrestles that Brock Lesnar schedule.
Yeah.
She is the Brock Lesnar of the women's division. I mean, if it's not Ronda Rousey, then we get a Byron Saxton get the F off my TV segment. He's interviewing Theory. This was the worst part of the show.
Yeah.
This sucked. Theory cuts a terrible promo. Basically says, do you believe in Austin Theory now? My answer is no.
Not yet.
Actually, even less than before.
It was counterproductive.
He beat a part-time movie star in a match. Cool.
With a low blow.
It
ain't made him clean.
And a ref bump.
Anyway, we get another Miz and Snoop segment.
Yes.
They faked the attendance again. The actual number is a little closer to about 75,000, so they faked it a lot less than usual. But we got
I really enjoyed this segment. I enjoyed the surprise that came about
Pat
because of
McAfee.
this segment. Yeah.
Pat McAfee comes out, and Cole didn't know about it again. And you know how Cole didn't know about it again? Because they showed his reaction.
Right. Tiny balls.
Tiny balls.
Like that is 100% going to be available at the concession stand in 2 weeks for Miz. Like it's going to say tiny balls and then the Miz on the back, or like Pat McAfee. You know, they're 100% going to make that into a shirt.
And this wasn't a bad angle or anything. This was fun. Snoop Dogg was the MVP of this segment. Other than maybe McAfee. Miz and McAfee end up having an impromptu match. This was maybe the greatest impromptu match in WrestleMania history. Miz did not look prepared. McAfee did. And George Kittle looked more prepared than both of them. Miz starts jaw-jacking with Kittle on the outside about 2 minutes in and gets just absolutely murdered by George Kittle. I don't know if George Kittle's ever thought about doing wrestling, but if he hasn't, he should, because that clothesline was gorgeous. That was maybe the third best clothesline of the night. And it was beautiful, and McAfee wins with the punt.
I would love to see Kittle and Gronk as a tag team.
Bro, Kittle and McAfee against like Miz and I don't know who you'd make Miz's tag partner at this point, but
just give him Austin Theory for all we care.
Shit. Miz and Russ, although I think Russ would turn on Miz in about 7 seconds.
Yeah.
Miz and Russ against McAfee.
Yeah, I would.
Devlin, you'd turn on Miz too.
100%. I'd hit him with the low blow before when he was trying to tag me in. I would just low blow him and walk off the apron and walk back to the locker room.
Yep.
You wouldn't even let the match get started before you were just like, yeah, fuck you, bud.
Yeah.
By the way, this show was long, but it did not feel that long.
No, it didn't. I thought the pace of the show was really well, considering the fact that they had fillers of, Lil Uzi Vert, and they had the impromptu match, and
which was filler, by the way. McAfee Miz was total filler.
Absolutely, and Charlotte and Rhea went over, and I think probably the men's tag team match went a little bit longer than it was supposed to, but it didn't feel like a 4-hour long WrestleMania. Like it felt like the pace of the show was really good, and I think that was because the crowd was into it the entire time.
The crowd did not die at any point for this show.
That's what I'm saying. Like there wasn't a point in the night where I thought, okay, the crowd's just not into it. Like this is the bathroom break match, or just like this is boring. I didn't feel like that. And there's been a lot of WrestleMania matches in the past where you've at least had one match like that, and I didn't get that sense tonight.
Yep. That's your bathroom break match right there. There's usually one on every card.
Yeah.
I'd like to point out,
don't care about and don't need to see.
I'd like to point out, about a quarter of the way through the Rhea Charlotte match, I had to piss. I did not pause the show. I put it on my phone and walked into the other room, grabbed a snack, did what I had to do, came back, started watching it again. That is how much there was not a bathroom break match here. When there's a bathroom break match, you don't feel the need to pull it up on your phone.
Right.
You feel the need to get up and walk away. And if Baron Corbin was on this card, that would be the bathroom break match. But he wasn't.
He was in a commercial with the Miz, but thank God he wasn't on the card.
The less Baron Corbin, the better. Can we all agree?
Poor guy just can't catch a break, can he?
And it's sad because he's got such good talent. Like he's got a good look. He's
And
got
by
talent.
all accounts, the nicest guy in the world. Like,
Yeah, and that end of days finishing move, like other than Drew McIntyre kicking out of it, I mean that move is a really good original
You know, he
move.
started off strong. You remember he had longer hair and he was the lone wolf,
Yep.
and it looked really promising. But he reminds me of Braun Strowman, who looked promising at first, and then at some point, I just became convinced this guy's a total goofball, and I've never been able to get behind either one of them since then. You know,
And
we
he,
got a little Uzi Vert thing. This was notably shorter than the Hardy concert from Royal Rumble.
yeah. Who the hell is Lil Uzi Vert?
Got me, boss.
Never
I
heard of
think
him.
I think it's a type of firearm actually. I think it's a little Uzi. I think it's a type of gun from the 20s.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
Anyway,
You got a little one.
Lil Uzi Vert, I muted this. I don't know if it was good, bad, or indifferent. I don't care. I didn't care. I unmuted it when I saw the Usos thing come up on the Tron. And the Usos music is probably one of the 10 best themes in WWE right now.
I think it's one of the 5 best. I love that theme.
It's fantastic, and the crowd popped big for the Usos, which caught me off guard. I'll be honest.
But again, that showed you, like we just talked about, how into the entire show, even 4 hours or 3.5 hours into the show, how into the show the crowd was. I think that was the match that everybody in the crowd was waiting for. Like they wanted that match. And I think you're gonna get that kind of crowd energy all night tomorrow too, especially with the Roman and Cody match.
And I want to point out, I think there's a reason that there's one last match tomorrow, and I think that's Roman and Cody are probably going to get 45 minutes.
That'd be nice. They could go that long.
I mean, Roman can, like we know, and Cody for sure can. I mean, Cody and Dustin went what, an hour? Damn near.
Yes. Yeah,
So,
that was a good one.
That might be one of my 3 favorite AEW matches of all time, and it was one of the
it was one of the first ones.
It was one of the first big AEW matches. That and like the dog collar match between CM Punk and MJF. That's another one of my favorites. But man, that Cody and Dustin match, and not just the match, but the story that just kind of it naturally had. That was such a great match.
We do have a CM Punk update at the end of the show, by the way. Owens and Zayn versus the Usos. This match was bloody fantastic. This was everything I wanted it to be and a little bit more.
This made my top 10 all-time WrestleMania matches.
Russ, your thoughts?
Excellent match. Was not disappointed at all in the outcome.
And there was definitely an opening for it.
Yes, and you know, the build to this match was probably about the best of any of the matches they've been doing. You know, this one in Cody versus Roman, because this whole bloodline storyline has dominated the shows for quite a while. I thought it was just excellent. And yeah, you know, the Usos are such an incredible tag team.
And me and Devlin
one of the best tag teams ever, you know.
And me and Devlin talked about this on the extra. The energy around this year's Mania feels a lot different than like anything for the past at least 10 years, if not more. There's a lot more eyes on the product now than I think there has been in, God, what, 15 years probably? I mean,
for me too, like this match and the bloodline story, you know, that Cody and Roman have, that Sammy and Roman and the bloodline told, and really the story that the bloodline have told for the last really probably year and a half. This entire storyline going back a year and a half really illustrates to me what happens when WWE puts good quality ideas and thoughts and time into their stories. When they let the performers be themselves and do their own things, because Roman's got freedom in the promos that other guys don't, and you can
Right.
see it in things in the ring. The things he says. I remember the matches he had with Jey Uso. Some of the things he would say or the way he would react. This match to me was kind of the culmination of WWE showing fans what happens when they're given time to make a good story with good performers that's dramatic, that people want to see, and that they give proper time to. This has been 18 months in the making, this storyline, and it's been fantastic. And credit to WWE, because I shit on them a lot for their story writing, for their storytelling, and their booking.
Yep.
This is maybe one of the 5 best storylines in the history of that company. And I know that's a big statement, but when you think about everything around this storyline, the fact that it's been a year and a half, how amazing this entire story's been, especially given the fact that when Roman came into it, fans hated him and they felt like he had been shoved down our throats.
Right.
For them to do a complete 180 with Roman, to have the Jey feud, to bring Paul Heyman in, to have the Brock feud, to have the Drew stuff. This to me is really what happens when WWE is allowed to tell a story, and it capped off tonight, and it was beautiful.
And you really think about it, it could even be a 2-year feud with Kevin Owens in the Bloodline. Because remember back to Royal Rumble 2021, he had that first last man standing match with Roman.
Yeah.
He had 3 matches in a row at 3 straight pay-per-views with Roman, but the one that everybody talks about is the Royal Rumble because of the last man standing.
Right.
I still think.
Sorry, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent, but this storyline was just like, obviously we'll hopefully get the cap tomorrow because I think Roman's leaving till SummerSlam, but this story just really showed me when WWE writing and performing and the storytelling and the producing is at its absolute best. There's nothing in the business better than that, and you can't keep your eyes off of it.
And AEW doesn't have anything like this. And
there's no company when WWE writes like this and lets their performers perform like this, there's no company in the world that can do what they can do. It's just a simple fact. Like Stone Cold had moments like that. I would say there were a couple Bret Hart moments like that, but other than those two, I can't think of a storyline that I've wanted to see that's captivated me, that's really kept my attention, but that I also thought was really well written, that was believable, that was realistic, more than this storyline. So kudos to WWE for this entire storyline, because to carry out a storyline for 2 years and not have it get dull and boring and have the crowd lose interest is a credit to them and the performers.
So this whole match, the Usos got the majority of the offense for, I want to say, 70% of the match.
Yeah.
This was, and I have been screaming for the Usos to be in a high caliber match at WrestleMania for probably 8 years now, at least. And it's like Russ said, they are one of the best tag teams now in WWE history.
Absolutely.
And not just in terms of their accolades, just their performances. I mean, look at their stuff with the New Day and now this. I don't think you can deny that the Usos are first ballot Hall of Fame probably easily.
When I think of them, when I think of rivalries, I think of the New Day and the Usos just the same way I think of Edge and Christian and the Dudley Boys and the Hardys. Like those 5 teams for me, like those rivalries, man, that's the best tag team wrestling I've ever seen.
They could go back to the Usos New Day stuff when everybody gets healthy. They absolutely could. And I think they will, by the way. I think Bloodline New Day is not too far off where they're probably going next. I mean, Big E is apparently somewhere between coming back and not, but I would venture to say that the money's probably on he's going to be back by the end of the year.
He's one guy that I could believably think if Roman retains tomorrow and comes back at SummerSlam, like he's one guy that I believe could dethrone Roman.
But like, and we'll talk about tomorrow night as well. I do want to talk about tomorrow night because we got plenty of time. I do want to talk about the rest of this match first. So Zayn and Owens get their asses kicked for 70% of the match, which they needed to.
Yeah.
The Usos had to lay it in on them, and they did. And the finish comes when Owens and Zayn finally start brawling back. And I want to point out that both Owens and Zayn had PWG logos on their gear. I thought that was great, and I don't think Vince would have ever let it happen.
I don't know if you saw this after the show, but might have been right before the show ended. But Adam Cole did send out a tweet that said PWG with the heart emoji. So
yeah, I saw that.
He was watching the show.
I think it's hilarious that people are still trying to say Vince is involved in creative, because if Vince was involved in creative, first of all, they don't go out there with PWG on their gear.
Right.
Not in a million years. Second of all, WrestleMania is not a thing. It's maybe on the pre-show if we're lucky. But Owens and Zayn get the win off triple haluva kicks to Jay. And I think the first one knocked Jay out. And I think the other two were just for good measure. They get the 1, 2, 3, and Sammy had to get the pin.
I will say this, like, I loved that part of the match. Like, I love that was how the match ended. Because at the end of that match, Sammy could have just pinned him after the first one. He knew he had it in the bag at that moment. But
like I said, I think he knocked him out. I mean,
yeah, you could see him talking to Jay, and it was kind of the redemption that Sammy needed. Like, after everything the bloodline did to him, after everything he had proved to them, after everything he had done for them. And yeah, he's the one that turned, but he could have very easily pinned him with one haluva kick. I think the fact that he did those extra 2 kicks was a perfect ending.
And Zayn and Owens are the new tag champs. I don't think they're going to split the tag titles again, simply because I don't think they should.
That was one of the loudest pops that I've heard in WrestleMania history. I've been watching WrestleMania every year since 1997. I've trying to think of a pop that I've heard that's been louder than that. There's been a few, but man, what if
Brian winning the title at 30 comes to mind.
and WWE likes to end their shows with these big WrestleMania moments, and man, what a moment that was.
I want to point out, there was not a dull moment on this show. Like, none of the matches were boring. I was not a huge fan of the 6-woman tag. I thought it was a little rougher on the edges. I didn't think Lita looked particularly good. Trish looked great. Trish looked like she could do a full-time run.
Right.
She won't. But I do want to talk about not only tomorrow, but I want to get your guys' general thoughts and grades for this show. Just for night one. We're going to talk about night 2 here in a minute, but just for night 1, how are we feeling? I give it an A+. Russ?
I give it a good solid B+. Above average with a little extra.
Devlin?
I agree with Russ 100%. It's a B+ for me. The only thing holding it back from an A+ or an A-, the Bad Bunny stuff, the Miz and McAfee segment, the Little Uzi Vert, the 8-man tag match. Like, if you take that stuff out, it's a solid A. I think the 3 matches of the night, obviously the men's tag match, the women's match, which again I think is maybe the best women's singles match in WWE history, are up there. And then the Logan Paul Seth Rollins match, and even to a lesser extent the Dom Ray match. I agree with Russ. It's 100% for me a B plus. If I had to give it a number grade, I'd say probably 7.5, 8.5 out of 10.
I did not think that damage control Becky Lita Trish thing was anywhere near probably as good as it could have been. That match was maybe the most disappointing thing for me, just because I had high expectations for that match, and if one match didn't deliver on this show, it was that one. Only because, like, you could tell that they were trying to protect Lita. And Trish, you could tell, was getting frustrated at a couple different points just because things were not working. And I don't think Trish and Bayley had great chemistry either. So,
See, I was going to say that too. Like, I didn't think the chemistry of the 6 women in that match was all that good. And I think it kind of reflected in the story. Like, the match, or in the match, rather, like, the story itself was okay. I thought the match was kind of clunky in places. I just didn't think it really flowed like the rest of the matches did that night or
Yeah.
tonight.
It seemed to me like, especially Lita, this seemed to be kind of off.
Yeah.
and
Yep.
this isn't new for her. This is the second
No.
match in a row that we've seen this where she's just looked kind of off. And I don't know if that's her chemistry with damage control, because her match with Becky not even 2 years ago, like it was a year ago in Saudi, was great. And now how much of that was Becky? I mean, let's be honest, Becky's probably one of the best 5 women's wrestlers ever. So,
Yeah.
I mean, let's talk about night 2. We have the women's WrestleMania showcase match. Ronda and Shayna should win this. If they don't, I don't know what we're doing. I mean, to be fair, I don't know what they're doing with the women's tag division anyway. So, like, it wouldn't shock me
I
if
don't
Natty
think they
and
know
Shotzi.
what they're doing.
No, they probably don't. It wouldn't shock me if Natty and Shotzi win this just to fuck us over.
I think what they're building towards is a Chelsea Green, Adam Pearce Hell in a Cell match at Backlash Puerto Rico.
I mean, that would probably be better than this WrestleMania showcase women's tag match is going to be. I'm going to be honest. It's 2 good workers. Pierce can work, and so can Chelsea. But yeah, Ronda and Shayna should win that. And then we have Gunther, Sheamus, and Drew for the Intercontinental title. I don't care who wins that. I just want to see it.
Right.
That I'm looking forward to.
You could give the title to any of those 3 guys, and I would just be like, okay, I'm cool with that.
You and I talked about it on the extra. Like, I said the exact same thing. I don't care who wins this match. I don't care who loses this match. Just inject this match into my fucking veins. Like, I want this match. And would it be cool if Sheamus won it? Yeah, it would, because that's the last belt he needs, and then he becomes a champion of all. He's won all the titles. But honestly, I kind of want Gunther to win. Just give him that WrestleMania moment that he hasn't had yet. But it's also one of those matches where I don't care who wins. I just want to see the match, and that's not something that I say about WWE a lot, if ever.
And I think there's 2 matches on this show that are like that. I think the next match, which is Hell in a Cell, Balor versus Edge, I don't care who wins that either. I just want to see it. Those 2 in a cell, and it's like Edge talks about with the thing with Foley. You put those 2 demented fuckers in a cell, dude, they're gonna kill each other.
Yeah, this could be a bloody one.
Yeah, and the rumor is Gangrel's coming back, and we might get Brood Edge. And Benny, you and I talked about it on the extra. TK actually approved Christian Cage to come in for one night to WrestleMania if he wanted to. So we'll see if that happens. Like I said, as an Attitude Era fan who started watching in '97, I would pop so fucking hard for the Brood if that happened, especially if they come up from the bottom and do their entrance with the fire around it. That would be amazing. But like Ben said, this is a match I want to see. Just inject it into my veins. I don't care who wins. Just give it to me.
A match I don't want to see is Brock Lesnar versus Omos. This better be a 5-minute car crash and nothing
Oh
else.
man, I still can't believe they're doing this.
It needs to be a 5-minute car crash. That's what it needs to be. It needs to be a car crash.
You don't want to see Bromos?
No, I don't want to see Bromos. Shut up.
How in the world, does how did this match even get booked? No matter who wins, how has anybody benefited from that?
This match happened because Bobby Lashley or Bray Wyatt wanted the winner of Bobby versus Brock, but when
Right.
Bray left for whatever reason, creative or his illness or whatever,
He
they
got
didn't
hurt.
have anything for Brock and they didn't have anything for Bobby, so they just kind of put Omos in for Brock, and God knows what's going on with Bobby. So
Sounds like we're gonna get an open challenge with him tomorrow.
Bobby won the under
yeah,
the giant over the
yeah,
top rope battle royale.
Let's talk about that because he issued an open challenge. So it sounds like that's going to be a thing tomorrow. They talked about it on commentary, so I would assume it's going to happen. Who do we think?
Who do you think it's going to be? Do you think it's going to be Jay White?
No, I think they're saving Jay. I don't even know if he's signed.
Rumored to be, but we don't know.
I mean, and here's the thing, it wouldn't, if they signed him, this wouldn't be like the Cody situation where it would get out. I feel like this would be one of those that they'd keep
pretty close to the vest.
And if they're trying to do this gambling thing, I think you're going to see less and less leaks out of WWE. I really do. I think it's going to happen less and less and less.
So who do you guys think is going to answer his challenge?
Either LA Knight or Braun Breaker. I mean, both of those seem pretty possible to me. And I would even venture to say, like, if Carmelo Hayes didn't win the NXT title this morning, like, I would think Melo would probably be it. But, I mean, Brian Cage isn't out of the realm of possibility. He's a free agent.
Russ, what about you? Who do you think it's going to be?
No idea, but you mentioned LA Knight. He's guy I'd like to see wrestle.
I still think, and me and Devlin talked about this on the extra, but I still think the most likely thing here is they're going to get Brian Cage, because he's a free agent and he was talking about it on Twitter. Like, the writing's on the wall. His contract's up.
Like, I want to see LA Knight come out as Eli Drake. Like, that's all I want to see. I don't want him to be LA Knight. I want him to be Eli Drake.
It'll never happen, but
I know.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that possibility of Brian Cage. His contract in AEW expired at 11:59 last night. Where do we put it on the idea of, because he did say it on Twitter, he is a free agent?
I think if Vince was in charge of creative, I would say 3 out of 10. I think because it's Hunter, I'd say like a 7, 7.5. I think Hunter sees the value and can look at somebody like Brian Cage and go, okay, this guy.
And it could be a one night only thing too. Like, you could have Cage come out and say, look, I'm not signed. I'm not here full time. I'm here to fight Bobby Lashley. That's it.
Right. He is not all elite. Like, you don't have to have the graphic. No. But you could, I think it's probably, out of everybody we've talked about, I think it's the most likely. I think if it's not Brian Cage, it might be a Legend, which would really irritate me unless it's Austin. But
I still think if Brian Cage, like, there's too much writing on the wall here. The open challenge, Cage tweeting about it 2 weeks ago.
For me,
he knows his contract's up. Don't tell me Brian Cage doesn't know his contract's up.
For me, I think in order of likelihood, I think it's Brian Cage, Jay White, and then any past WWE legend. I think those are the 3 in terms of likelihood that it's going to be.
Russ, what do you think?
Brian Cage, I could see them having a good match. I'm not super impressed with Brian Cage. I don't, what I've seen him a few times in AEW,
but we've seen that.
If
we've
it's
seen
him,
guys.
I hope that Bobby Lashley can beat him.
Well, that would almost be a guarantee. But Remember Cody before he left AEW, everybody was down on him, and then he goes to WWE and he's the hottest thing on the planet.
Right.
So
Exactly.
I mean, and there's no saying that couldn't happen for Brian Cage too. You know what I mean? There are people who don't like Brian Cage now who, after one match with Bobby Lashley, could fall in love with him. Like, that is not out of the question, and Bobby Lashley has done that for people before.
If it was Vince, it would be somebody stupid like Dolph Ziggler, Bobby Roode that answers the challenge.
Or Doink the Clown.
Yeah, like no offense to those guys, they're good workers, but like they'd hype it up and then it would be like, oh, the Miz is gonna answer the challenge, or oh, Dolph Ziggler's here to challenge Bobby Lashley, and then Lashley puts him in the hurt lock in like 4 seconds and the match is over.
Then a match that I think has the worst build on this show, Bianca versus Asuka.
Yeah, not much build at all.
Bianca's gonna win this match.
I'm afraid she is. I would love to see Asuka win it. She's been one of my favorites for a long time.
When Asuka won the Chamber, I thought she was winning the title. And then I saw the build, and I immediately just said, oh, fuck.
Mm-hmm. I agree with Russ. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I agree with Russ. I think Bianca's going to win, but I want to see evil clown Asuka win, because ever since she's turned heel, she's done that evil clown thing that she did in New Japan, which is such a different aspect of that character, but it's also the same character. You get glimpses of that every week. She's gonna lose the match, but I like
which
Russ
she
said,
shouldn't, by the way.
No, I agree, but I think like Russ said, I'd like to see Asuka win, but I think Bianca in the end does, because I think they're committed to Bianca for the long run.
Bianca's gonna have that title for a year.
And honestly, I wouldn't hate, at like Survivor Series, I wouldn't hate seeing Rhea versus Bianca. Like, I wouldn't hate that.
Tomorrow will be Bianca's 365th day as champion.
Right.
I think it's time to pull the plug on her. Yeah. Not in terms of being, a top talent. I think her being at the top of the card is absolutely warranted. But it's time to pull the plug on the babyface Bianca. I think it's over for her as a babyface. For now. I think she should go heel, and I also think her husband should go heel. But I think both of them need to go heel immediately. Now watch, Bianca's going to get a massive babyface tomorrow. Babyface pop tomorrow, and I'm going to look like a fucking moron. Anyway, the match everybody gives a shit about in one way or another, Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes for the Undisputed Universal Heavyweight Hardcore 24/7 7-Eleven title.
24/7 365 championship, little Jimmy. Anyway, it's funny because you and I, Benny, we were at Full Gear 2021. Do you remember what the match was that most people got up and went to the concession stand for?
Tay Conti versus
No, it was the Cody Rhodes. It was the Cody Rhodes match.
The Cody Rhodes, and it was the Nightmare Factory against the House of Black.
Yeah, it was the Nightmare Factory versus the House. No, it was Cody Rhodes and Andrade and somebody else versus the House of Black. And the crowd was dead. Nobody was into it. Everybody knew at this point.
Yes, babyface Andrade.
Yeah, like everybody knew Cody was leaving. Nobody cared. No matter how you feel about Cody Rhodes, kudos to that guy. He took a chance. He left the company that he helped found. He took a chance. He went back to a company that he had little to moderate success in, and now he's an ultra megastar main eventing night 2 of WrestleMania for the biggest prize in the sport. So,
and probably the best storyline.
Absolutely. So kudos to Cody for not, giving up. But yeah, it's been fun for me to watch his evolution for the last 2 years, because like I said, Ben and I went to Full Gear at the Target Center in Minneapolis in November of 2021, and everybody got up and
nobody cared.
Yeah, and everybody went up to the concession stands, went and got beer, took their bathroom break, all that stuff during
Devlin,
the
I
house.
think me and you picked that match specifically to go get more beer.
We did, yeah. We used that as our bathroom break concessions match, and nobody cared about that match. And kudos to Cody for being able to turn it on.
I want to give props to Devlin for something to do with that event. Total side note.
Oh Jesus! Oh,
me and
don't do this.
Devlin drank so much beer at that show.
We did.
I think we might have bought them out of beer.
We did. We did.
Neither one of us felt too
That
great.
sounds expensive.
It was.
Yeah, well, I bought the tickets, so I told Ben, I bought the tickets, so you have to buy me beers all night. So at $12
The beer
a
tab
pop,
ended up being about $200, and that's not a
yeah,
joke.
yeah, and that was just me and Ben. That doesn't even include Bryce. We made Bryce buy his own beer, but yeah, Ben and I, yeah, they knew us by name at the concession stand at the end of the night. Let's put it that way.
They checked my ID twice, and then they stopped.
Yeah.
Then they remembered you.
And then they stopped.
And I will say I still have one beer out of my 3 left, so we're good.
Well, the funny part about that show, Russ, I've never told you this story, and this is a funny story for the show, so I'm going to keep going with it. It's a funny side thing. Where Devlin bought the tickets, and I don't think he did this on purpose, we were right by the Target Center bar, like the bar in the Target Center. Yeah. Devlin, did you do that on purpose, or did that just happen and you're just like, oh, this is cool?
Yes.
So you're going to make yourself look like a genius, but you're really a dipshit.
Yes. I personally, I was trying to find tickets that were moderately priced, but I also wanted to get tickets to the closest A bathroom, B concession stand, and 3 beer stand that I could. And it was literally like our seats were like six seats in. So we went out 6 seats. We walked out about 10 feet out of the
and there was a massive bar
out of the section that we were in, like into the concourse, and as soon as you turned left, there was a giant, massive bar right there. So it couldn't have worked out any better.
By the way, they don't open that bar for Timberwolves games. They only open that bar for concerts and wrestling. And we were happy. But speaking of happy, Russ, your prediction for tomorrow with Cody versus Roman?
Cody.
Devlin?
I believe Cody will win, but I'm not going to be upset either way.
Devlin?
For me, it makes the most sense for Cody to win if the rumors that Roman is going away are true. You and I talked about this on the extra. If he's going away until SummerSlam, that's 5 months. WWE is not going to want to have to explain to Fox and USA or NBC,
and whoever's buying the company
and
on top of that,
buying the company, why their champion isn't on TV for 5 months. So if Roman is going away, I definitely think Cody's going to win. Like Russ said, though, I agree 100% with him. I'm not going to be upset either way. This storyline is so good that you could have him win. That being said, I think if Roman wins, I'm not going to say it's a mistake, but I would have gone the other way with it. I think Cody should win. I think Cody will win, but I won't be upset if Roman does. Storyline wise, if Roman wins, WWE is screwed unless they drop the belt off of Gunther and put him in the main event, because Roman's literally beaten everybody.
Or if they're getting Jay White, they're not screwed.
Well, even if they get Jay White and Roman leaves, they're still screwed. But Roman,
I want to throw out an alternative possibility here. What if they've talked Roman off the ledge of taking time off after Mania?
I mean, okay, if they've shortened it, but still, like, you have sponsors, you have advertisers. He's already a part-time champion. He doesn't do house shows. Do you want to have to explain in the midst of a sale why your champion isn't on TV every week? Or do you want a guy like Cody Rhodes, who you and I talked about on the extra, is an amazing interview? he's a PR person's dream. Like, he could be the face of the company. I personally think, given what we saw tonight between the Usos and WrestleMania and KO, I think they're going to give Cody that WrestleMania moment. I think his legacy is going to be fulfilled. I think he's going to win the title that his dad and his brother never did. With that being said, again, if Roman wins, I think WWE's backed themselves into a corner that unless they sign Jay White or move Gunther to the world title picture, they don't have a way to get out of, because Roman's beaten everybody multiple times other than Seth.
I think Cody's winning. And I think the fact, if the Usos would have won tonight, I would say Roman's winning for sure.
I agree. I think
But-
the overarching story of WrestleMania 39, when we look at it now, and also when we look at it 5, 10, 20 years from now, the overarching story is going to be the fall of the bloodline. And I hope that's what happens, not because I want to see it, but because I think it's the story that is the right story to tell. I think it's the story that needs to be told. And I think, more importantly, Triple H is smart enough that this is the story the fans want. Because I tell you, if Vince was running creative, Roman wins tomorrow, 100%.
But as we've talked about on this show, it's a ridiculous notion that he is. So, guys, overall, a very fun night. I think we've had a fun show tonight. I talked about at the beginning of the show, which was like an hour and a half ago now, because all three of us don't know how to shut the fuck up itis.
Guilty.
Russ, are you guilty?
Never.
I swear I'm the babyface here. You two are just the heels.
Yeah. It's all right.
I
I slapped my grandma for 50 cents.
Well, good for you. Good for you. Anyway.
I'd slap my grandma for free.
Wow.
See, he's worse than me.
You guys should be a tag team.
And my grandma's a bag of ashes, so there you go.
Yeah.
Doing a show with assholes. Oh my god. Anyway, let's do some Lock 22. Let's pay some bills. Go check out Puck University with Gobo and Tom. Great show talking all about the NHL. It's also a very funny wordplay. Puck University. Otherwise, replace the P. It's fuck.
Right.
I've never said that. Like, I've never said that on this show. I think it's just kind of implied. But
it's not, Ben, it's not funny if you have to explain it.
Hey, Devlin.
Hey, what?
Do you want to be on night 2 or not?
You want to Jericho GFY me right now. I know you do.
Go fuck yourself?
Yeah, there you
go. Your name should be MJF.
Maxwell Jacob Fucker?
No, my jerk off friend.
Well, there you go.
Anyway, let's make a Lock 22 announcement here. Damon knows about this. I think I told Devlin. Russ, did I tell you about this? We have a new show starting on Lock 22 that we're going to announce today. Shrewsworthy is coming back. My old podcast that I used to do. It's coming back May 2nd. Every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right here on Lock 22. It's going to go up at 9 a.m. on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. I think I'm getting that right. No, wait. May 2nd's a Tuesday, right? It's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm stupid. It's my show, and I don't even know when it's going up. I just botched my own promo.
All right.
I just botched it like frickin' Omos. Are you guys proud of me?
No, you did fine. You covered yourself real well. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, it's going to be a new 30-minute show I was going to say every single day. Well, it's going to be Tuesday through Thursday every single week. But, yeah, we got a whole bunch of cool stuff planned for that. Going to have guests and stuff. So I'll talk more about Shrewsworthy as we get closer to May 2nd. But for now, I will just tell you it is coming back. It is going to be on Lock 22, and I'm excited. But for now, gentlemen, we're going to be back here tomorrow.
Yes.
We're
What?
actually, what?
Gentlemen, what?
Would you shut up, please? Before I fire you again? For the second time in a week?
Yeah, well,
I think I fired you on the extra once.
you did. You threatened to fire me once on the extra. Yes.
And then you said something to the equivalent, wait, I'm supposed to be getting paid for this?
Yeah, well, it's a whole thing.
Anyway, we're going to be back here tomorrow. And then me and
Yes.
Russ are going to be back here again next Sunday
Right.
for the start of season 2.
Yes.
Ooh,
As I said,
Easter Sunday show. You think we can get Ben to wear some bunny ears?
Well, it'll be posted up on Easter Sunday. We'll probably record it Friday or Saturday.
well, if it's going to go up Easter Sunday, you know what? If somebody PayPal's me $50, I'll wear bunny ears. How about that?
I'll let you do that.
I get paid Thursday. You might just see a hit to your PayPal, my friend.
If everyone at Lock 22, I'll make it even worse. If everyone at Lock 22 PayPal's me $50, I'll wear bunny ears on this show. You know what? I'll do you one better. If everybody PayPal's me $50, I'll go to Walmart and buy a rabbit costume.
I wouldn't mind doing a show with a Playboy buddy, but I wouldn't want him to look anything like you.
Okay, Damon.
If they look like you, they're not a Playboy bunny.
Damon, when you're editing this show, please clip that and put it on Twitter. Good God. Okay, I'm going to end this fucking show before it gets any worse because it's already really bad.
Oh, wait, one thing. You're forgetting one thing.
What am I forgetting now?
You said you had an update about CM Punk.
Oh, thank you. So we have yet more conflicting reports on CM Punk.
Weird.
Yeah, he's coming back to AEW and he's not coming back to AEW.
Right.
I have seen and heard more that he is coming back. So for right now, I am operating under the assumption that Phil Brooks, CM Punk, CM Skunk, CM Funk, whatever the fuck you want to call this jabroni now, is coming back. And you know what? John Moxley's going to quit.
So what I had heard is that before his Instagram post on Tuesday that was talking about the Bucks and Jericho and whoever else, that Tony Khan and Punk, according to Dave Meltzer of Wrestling Observer, they had agreed, at least in principle, to terms, he called it reconciliation, to be able to come back to the company. He put out an update after that post, I think it was Thursday or Friday, saying he didn't know where that post, what the ramifications of that post.
I heard they were absolutely nothing. I heard there was no ramifications, that it was a very uncomfortable, brief conversation, and that was it.
Well, and you know, like you and I spent probably 20 minutes talking about Punk on the extra. Like, they need him, whether they like it or not. The 3 highest pay-per-views in AEW history have been main evented by CM Punk. Whether they like it or not, their only $1 million gates have been main evented by CM Punk.
The ratings have not been as good since he left.
Absolutely, Russ. You're totally right. The ratings have been garbage since he left. Whether you like him or not, whether he's a locker room cancer, he puts eyes on your product. He sells merchandise at the John Cena and Cody Rhodes level. You got to do what you got to do to get that guy back. So it'll be interesting.
And look out for Dean Ambrose in the 2024 WWE Royal Rumble.
Ultimately, I think Cody does, or not Cody, I think CM Punk does come back. I think what they're going to probably do is run it back with MJF and do Punk MJF 3, but who knows?
Do you think Mox quits? Because that's the
I don't
talk
think
right now.
I don't think Mox quits, but I think this is, if Punk resigns and comes back, I think this is when Moxley takes his vacation that he was promised. that he was supposed to take like 6 months ago, or he was supposed to take like a 6 month long vacation. I think that's probably when he's going to take it. I will say, if CM Punk comes back, I think it's less likely or decreases the chances of Kenny Omega re-signing with All Elite Wrestling.
I already think the
Yeah.
chances of that are incredibly low, by the way. I think Kenny is gone. And I talked about it on the show when the Observer reported that his contract had been extended due to injury time. Tony doesn't do that if he thinks they're staying.
Yeah.
If he thinks Kenny was staying, they'd have just announced a new contract. They wouldn't have done the contract extension for injury time.
Right.
And
just, and it'll be interesting to me too, like if he does come back and Tony, because Tony said he's got a big announcement this week on Dynamite.
that's
Who
that
knows?
new show.
Yeah.
It's that third show they're doing on Saturdays.
Right. But
Yeah, the 605.
Yeah.
605 on TBS.
If he, wow, WCW Saturday Night territory. Okay.
Yeah.
I wonder if every show is going to be main evented by Bobby Eaton and Jim Duggan. That's a call.
Okay, good. Yeah.
No, I'll tell you what's going to happen.
Ross, that's a throwback for you, my friend.
Yeah.
We're going to get the astral
Bobby
projection. We're going to get the astral projection of Dusty Rhodes. All right. And he's going to come out and he's going to cut the Hard Times promo. He's going to cut the same promo every week because it's just an astral projection. He can't really do anything. He's just going to cut the Hard Times promo every single week for an hour.
On times, baby. Okay, on the mothership.
He's wined down with kings and queens. He slept in alleys and he's ate poke and beans, baby.
So
Right.
this show has now devolved into Dusty Rhodes promos.
But I think if Punk comes back, you have to, the first thing you have to do is you have to smooth over the locker room. He's got an issue with Moxley. He's got an issue with Jericho, or they have issues with him. Basically, the only allies that I've heard that Punk has in that locker room are FTR, who have
And they're done this week.
Yeah, who have 1 foot out the door. So it'll be interesting to see that dynamic. But at the same time, like Russ said, their ratings haven't been the same since he left. So CM Punk kind of holds all the cards, in my opinion. He doesn't need them. They need him. They need him for ratings, for merchandise, for pay-per-view buys. And if he doesn't come back, then their numbers are going to stay where they're at. They're just not going to get any better.
I don't know what they do. I wasn't kidding about that whole Moxley quitting thing. I think that's a very real possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think Tony lets it get to that point? Honestly, with Tony Cokehead Khan, I don't know anymore.
He's let it get to this point. I mean,
like,
he's had his own people that are in his employ come on TV and just basically bury him and make him look like a complete moron.
I think Tony's just such a mark for pro wrestling that there's part of him that just finds it funny. Like, he's got a hard time being a boss and a fan. Like, he needs to learn when to be a boss and when to be a fan. If that was me, I would have taken MJF off of TV after that promo.
Yes.
But it's also a hard thing to do because MJF was on fire at that time. Like, he wasn't even world champion, and he was like the bloodline at WWE. Like, he was must-see TV at that point.
Right.
But you also can't have somebody go out and say that on live TV about the owner of the company and get away with it. So,
I mean,
yeah.
Here's the thing. Me and Devlin talked about this on the Extra. Me and Russ have been talking about this for 3 months, 4 months almost. They need a booker, and they need one.
Oh, yeah. And it needs to be someone other than Tony Khan.
I don't care if it's Dustin. You know what? Let Dustin book. Fuck it. It'd have to be better than this.
You know who would be a good booker for them?
Who?
T, the five-time 5-time WCW champion Booker T.
Well, he's
That's
on like
good.
a 5-year contract with WWE that he just
Well,
signed.
you said they needed a booker. He's the only booker I know.
That's right.
I've tried
But
to end this show 3 times and you fuckers have
All
distracted
right.
me. All right. For these 2 fuckers and everybody here at Lock 22, we thank you for joining us for part 1
Yes.
of 2 of the season 1 2 Marks and a Spark finale. Instead of 2 marks tonight, it was 3. Tomorrow it'll be 3. And we're back to 2 next week because, well, frankly, I can't afford to have Devlin here every week. Also, I'd lose all my hair. Between these 2, every single week, I would lose all my hair. Like, one of you is bad enough, I don't know that I could do 2. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys for supporting the show this whole season.
All right. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow night. I'll try my best to be sober.
Are you going to show up?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to show up.
See, Devlin would have just said, I don't make any promises.
well, see, you told me I had to show up relatively sober, and I'd like to point out to you, Ben, I'm only 2 beers in. So
2 beers for you is fucking nothing. I saw you at Full Gear. 2 beers doesn't touch you.
I know. That's what I'm saying. You asked me to show up somewhat sober, so I did. I say I'm only 2 beers in for you because we're friends.
Now
I'm going to go home and have 2 beers.
Yeah, there you go. Absolutely.
Now, Russ,
and probably 2 shots.
Russ, I have to.
Russ, that's what I like.
Russ, I have to ask.
Yes.
Did you show up to this show relatively sober or
Totally sober?
That might be a first.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm about as straight and narrow as you can get.
Well,
no, I'm not straight edge. Like I said about CM Punk, I said, hell, if that's the way being straight edge makes you happy, I think I'll have another beer.
That's right.
Because he seems like the most miserable person. I thought, dude, you need to get high or something. Because he is addicted to being unhappy and miserable wherever he goes.
Smoke a bowl, CM Punk. Anyway, on that just partially in certain states illegal note, everybody have a good night. Thank you so much for watching.
See you tomorrow.
Like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you tomorrow. Devlin, go fuck yourself. Good night, everybody.
Good night.